Am I the asshole for banning my dad from my apartment while I'm gone? So I, 23F, need to go away on a work trip for a week and have asked my younger brother, 18M, to live in my place and care for my 2 cats. He's excited because he's always lived at my parents' and it's like a dorm trial before college in the fall. Problem is my parents are antsy about him being there alone. Admittedly, I don't live in the best area, but so long as he hangs out indoors and plays video games all week like he's planning, he'll be fine. My dad works in the same city and wants to visit him after work, bring him dinner, make sure he's okay, etc. The problem I have with that is I literally have one house rule that my dad has failed to follow almost every time he has visited. That one rule is that my cats need to be secured in my bedroom with the door closed before the front door opens. My first cat, I've had him for a year now, was either a stray or an outdoor cat before being surrendered to the shelter. While he loves cuddling and being around people, he also desperately wants to go outside, and even now a year later he meows at the doors and windows to be let out. Leaving the politics of outdoor cats aside, I live in a very dangerous area for a cat. On one side of my apartment is a 5-lane 2-way road, and on the other side is a 4-lane road, both being very busy. The back of my apartment is a busy bank. If my cat were to get out and run from being scared, it'd practically be a death certificate. Even though I've reminded my dad of this one rule every time he visits, he always opens the front door while the cats are out. I'm vigilant and catch him and remind him, but he always gets defensive and brushes it off as an accident, then does it again, sometimes twice in one visit. He often tries to stand there having conversation with the door open. My parents' cats have gotten out because of this, but because they live in a suburb they've always been okay. My brother is a little absent-minded and gets absorbed in his video games, so if my dad tries this while I'm not there, I don't know if he'll catch it before my boy can sneak out. Thus I've banned my dad from my place and he's extremely angry. He keeps insisting that he won't do it again and that he doesn't want my brother there alone. Am I the asshole? Edit. So I talked to my mom about this post and my worries. Particularly that due to the nature of my work I most likely won't have cell service for the majority of my trip, and thus if something happened it wouldn't be easy to get to me. Also, I found out today my younger kitten needs to be on medication longer when he should have been off before the trip. He's fine, just needs steroid ointment and monitoring. When I initially brought up my trip a few months ago, she was a bit reluctant to stay as it would make her drive time to work 40 minutes longer and make balancing her garden and my cats difficult. But she offered to take over after I explained my worries and said she'd prefer that to my brother staying there anyways. I'm helping her garden every weekend both because I enjoy it and as thanks. She definitely can be trusted to keep the boys up and my dad won't come over. I haven't broken the news to my brother yet. I figure he'll be pretty sad. I do have festival tickets I was going to surprise him with, so I'll tell him about it at the same time to make it up to him. I'll let him hang out for a video game weekend too sometime soon. Thanks all for helping me make a decision. I do feel a bit guilty towards my brother, but it's best to keep the cats safe when I'm not sure if my rules will be upheld while I'm gone without cell service. Not the asshole. Your dad is in no position to be upset, because he's proven that he can't be trusted. But I bet he's also not going to follow a rule to stay out of your house while you're away. Hug your cats before you leave. Not the asshole, but given how he constantly forgets your boundaries, you should just prepare for the possibility that he will drop in to visit your house nonetheless. Not the asshole. You have a genuine concern about your cats, and a viable solution. Your dad shows no evidence of being able to follow your program. He insists that he won't do it again, but there's no reason to believe him. Not the asshole. Your place, your rules. Simple as that. Not the asshole. Your place, your rules. Remind your father of that. Am I the asshole for refusing to take my girls to meet their grandparents on their father's side? I, 23 female, and my husband, 26 male, have been arguing over this since my oldest was born, 20 male, and then I have a 2 male. I want to be totally clear that his parents haven't done anything wrong and they're not bad people. The issue is they live 26 hours away. They have never met either of their grandchildren, and I have only met his mom and sister when I was pregnant with our first and met up halfway. So they are basically strangers to me as well as complete strangers to the girls. Yet my husband is really pushing to take the trip. He hasn't seen his family in 5 years. My refusal comes in with the logistics of it all. Our girls are really big grandmas and papa's girls on my side, they always have been, and since we are temporary living with my parents as we wait for our new place, the girls are bonding even more to them. So that would be like ripping them away from all they ever known and putting them into unknown territory with a bunch of strangers that are going to try hugging, kissing, holding them, and I know that would make them uncomfortable and it would bother me too. I don't want anyone blood or not to cross my girls' boundaries. Beyond that, the trip, anyone who has ever had to ride in a car with a toddler or a baby knows that would be constant stopping, upset babies, and just plain frustrating for 26 hours. That's just a really long time to have them in car seats too. I've also entertained the idea of a plane, but handling two little ones on a small cramped plane with people who don't want to hear them seems so great. Eye roll. I can't do the plane though. I have extremely sensitive ears due to a hole in my eardrums after having tubes as a kid till 18. Even if we got through the traveling part, then come sleep schedules, they'd be all messed up, and I don't like sleeping in random places, so why would the girls? With all this in mind, I just had another disagreement with the hubby about it again after he brought up compromises, one being we meet one halfway again, still 13-hour trip, and another being we stay the summer again. They'll miss my parents that have been with them their whole life. Plus he's an over-the-road trucker, he's only home 1 week out of a month or a month and a half, so majority of childcare is me. He'll get to leave and have me deal with sleep schedule, and I can't see my gram or papa meltdowns that she has now, and we live with them at the moment. All of that would be on me in some stranger's home. He says, and I quote, "So what, the girls will get it over it?" My response was, "So will your family." Also, I want to point out that I have told him I'm totally fine with him going down there by himself, but he doesn't want to go alone. So with all this in mind, am I? I want to clarify some things, first being that I have offered to host their grandparents over the last 2 years in our old place and have offered to host once we settle in our new place. They have never taken the offer. 2. I have offered FT so that the babies would at least start to recognize their voices and faces, but they haven't taken that offer either. So this is basically one-sided relationship on our end to them. 3. My husband wants us to go down for the whole summer, but he would only be there 2-3 weeks out of 2-3 months because the only way to afford this would be for him to work. I have offered to do 1 week, but he got offended saying 1 week wasn't enough, so my next offer was 1 week altogether, and the next month he could take his week alone, which he didn't like either. You are the asshole. The kids will not love your parents less if they develop a relationship with the rest of their grandparents. The travel excuse is just that, an excuse. You are completely disregarding the feelings of everyone that did not give birth to you. Do better. You are the asshole. They have 2 sets of grandparents and you're blocking your husband's parents for no reason. Why can't they come to you? They wouldn't be the ones traveling with infants, toddlers? Info. Why are the grandparents not coming to visit you guys? Not the asshole. I understand him wanting his patent to meet the kids, however, as his parents are strangers to you and kids, and 99.9% of the child care falls on you, and he is home maybe 30 days a year. His parents can come to you and stay in a hotel. Tell you absolutely will not stay in a strange place with strangers. If he absolutely insists, then tell him that he can get a hotel room for you and the kids and a room for your parents or a Airbnb for the duration of your stay. Am I the asshole for yelling at my brother-in-law and his girlfriend and kicking them out? Me, 32 female, and my wife, 32 female, had my bill, 28 male, and his girlfriend over for dinner for the first time last night. We officially met her 3 weeks ago at a restaurant for dinner with all my ILs. I'm not gonna go into much detail, but my wife has sight impairments. We just recently found out the actual issue. It's a very complex thing with no easy fix, like glasses or surgery. And not the common thing doctors have been saying it was since she was a toddler. This is an extremely sensitive subject for her, as it has made her reliant in other people for many things. She has opened up about it a lot in recent years to try and find a solution, but she doesn't talk to strangers about it. So we were having dinner. I knew the girlfriend was a bit nervous. I was too. I'm certainly not a very social person. We were talking about work. Then she said she noticed there was a "do not contact" pin in the office calendar for next Thursday, all day, and what was I going to do all day? I was a bit uncomfortable because regardless of what it is, it's a personal matter. Wife answered she has a very important audition that day, she's a musician, and I was taking her. Girlfriend asked why. We have 2 cars, where's the need for me to drive her to the audition? I can feel my wife getting quite uncomfortable next to me as she tells girlfriend she can't drive. Girlfriend asked again why. And brother-in-law starts going into way too much detail about the whole thing. Girlfriend asks if that's why I was reading to my wife the menu at the restaurant and suggesting things for her to eat the other day because she thought it was odd and controlling at first, and what else does my wife needs assistance with? I could see my wife concealing her distress. I was fuming. They were crossing a line, so I asked them as politely as I could to leave, but they kinda laugh it off, so I repeated myself a bit less kindly. They told me to chill, and that they were just talking. My wife excuses herself to go to the kitchen, but I saw her walk past the kitchen. I basically went off on them for their topic of conversation and I ended yelling at them to leave, and they finally did. Wife went to bed early and stayed there way more than usual this morning. I got texts from brother-in-law about how inappropriate I was by yelling at them, especially considering our power dynamic at work. Sil is on my side. Other brother-in-law can see both sides, including GF's curiosity and nerves. My mom said I shouldn't have done anything. Am I the asshole? They were talking about personal matters that had nothing to do with them, and commenting on her dependence on me. I think that was extremely inappropriate. Edit. I did try to change the subject of the conversation, but somehow she managed to find questions regarding the site issue and the random things I said. Brother-in-law knows very well the subject is sensitive. I was surprised he even brought it up himself in front of her sister and talked so freely about it. I'm the boss of GF's boss and brother-in-law said I shouldn't talk like that to a subordinate. Edit. I don't know if you can see this, but I was just informed that Reddit is banning me from posting and commenting in Am I the Asshole because I made a comment expressing the anger I feel right now towards Bill. I apologize for that comment, so I won't be able to directly answer more questions. Not the asshole. Her questions towards you and your wife were incredibly judgmental. She wasn't asking questions because she was curious, she was asking questions to confirm her judgment of your relationship dynamic. You were right to kick her out, good for you for setting the right boundaries. Not the asshole. Because you probably gave enough hints. However, there is a step before telling and kicking them out. My wife and I do not discuss our medical problems with people. We will have to find something else to talk about. Not the asshole. People need to learn boundaries. None of the questions they asked are their business. Info. Did you explicitly ask them to change the subject before kicking them out? Am I the asshole for calling my stepsister a BTCH and making her cry at her graduation party? My 18F mother died when I was born and my dad remarried when I was 3. I have a stepsister who is the same age as me and 2 half-siblings. My mom's sister and her wife raised me after my mom died and I only started living with my dad after he remarried. He often favored my stepsister and half-siblings. He would routinely miss important things in my life for them and never did anything with me unless my stepsister was there. My stepmom would also make me watch my siblings and do more chores while my stepsister did almost nothing. As I got older I started spending more time at my aunt's house and as soon as I turned 18 I moved in with them. They're pretty wealthy while my dad is lower middle class. They often buy me things that my dad and stepmom can't afford for their children. My stepsister's always been jealous because I have nicer stuff. Both of us graduated this year. Our graduation ceremony was last Friday and our prom was the Saturday before that. I've been living with my aunts for a few months now. They bought me a pretty expensive prom and hosted an after party, which my stepsister was at because my aunts asked me to invite her. They also threw me a graduation party that none of my dad's family came to even though they were invited. My dad hosted a party for both of us today and asked me to stay the weekend. As I expected, the party was completely about her. I was told that it was for both of us. My dad gave a long speech about how proud he is of my stepsister. He mentioned me once but the rest of his speech was completely about her. He went on about she worked so hard to be a valedictorian and didn't even mention that I graduated summa cum laude. I was visibly upset during dinner and afterwards my stepsister asked me to talk. We went to her room and she started talking about how I've always had things a lot easier than her. She said that it's not fair that I always get the best things and she doesn't. I told her that life isn't always fair and she should be grateful for what she has. My mother is literally dead and my father loves her more than me while she has 3 loving parents. She was also mad because I got into a prestigious private university which is pretty expensive and my aunts are paying my tuition. She may have been able to go to a similar college but decided to only apply to our local state school because she knew that's all she could afford. We have basically the same friend circle and a bunch of us decided to go to Europe this summer. My aunts are paying for me to go but my dad and stepmom couldn't afford it. She also said that I purposely humiliated her by inviting her to my prom after party so I could show off my fancy dress. Our argument got pretty heated and I called her a dumb BTCH and left the party early instead of spending the night. I'm at my aunt's house right now and my dad and stepmom are calling me and accusing me of making my stepsister crying at her graduation party. Am I the asshole? Edit. Some people are confused her being valedictorian. At my school, everyone who has a 4.0 plus is considered a valedictorian and I was the highest ranked student. Not the asshole. Ignore all of them. Not the asshole. Tell them, her graduation party? I thought it was for the two of us? Honestly, try and have a conversation with them about everything they've done to you or not done, as it were. Tell them you've had enough of their favoritism. Not the asshole. She is envious of your access to financial support, but she intentionally makes sure to keep your bio dad's attention on her. Your sperm donor is the biggest asshole here. She exacerbates that, and your lashing out was provoked. Texts. Her have thought it was ours. Tell your dad he failed as a dad, that it's a shame that he can't remember he has you as a daughter as well and should have celebrated you just as much, but you understand his new family was clearly more important from all he accomplished in your life. The block and get on with the amazing life you have in front of you. Not the asshole. It's easier to see what you miss than what you have. S's sees the luxury your sweet aunties gave you and she didn't. She does not see that she had a loving and caring ma'am and a stepdad that favored her. You have learned that those privileges don't make up for missing caring parents. Maybe you do flaunt those things a bit, but that could be just screaming, I am doing fine despite missing my parents. That she couldn't oversee this, her mistake. But that your dad doesn't get this and still thinks he should favor her, that makes him the biggest AH.